I envied their touch, knowing mine had turned to dust in your memory. They were the thief, jealousy was the wound, and I was left with nothing. Jealousy is love's desperate echo in the empty halls of forgotten promises. I felt jealousy like a ghost, haunting the love that slipped through my hands. They held your gaze. Jealousy held the shards of my fractured dreams. Love became jealousy when you looked at them the way you once looked at me. I envied their voice, the melody that replaced the song I used to sing. Jealousy is the silence after the storm, louder than any cry for love. I felt jealousy not as hatred, but as a love too fragile to survive. They were the future I lost. Jealousy was the past I couldn't escape. Jealousy is love's final act, raw, unmasked, and devastatingly honest. I envied the way they held you, the way I once dreamed to hold forever. When I saw them, jealousy became the last piece of a shattered heart. Jealousy is love's cruelest reminder that some stories end before they begin. I envied their presence, knowing mine was a ghost fading into the distance. If this touched your soul, don't scroll, like, comment your favorite quote, and subscribe for more. Jealousy is a wound that bleeds unseen, yet it shapes the contours of love's loss. I envied their smile, the spark you lost in the ashes of us. They wore your love like armor. Jealousy was my battle I never won. Jealousy is the echo of a love that refused to let go quietly. I saw them, and jealousy shattered the fragile hope I still carried. Love turned jealous when your heart chose silence over my desperate cries. I envied their shadow, the space where my name was erased softly. Jealousy is love's last desperate act before surrendering to silence. I felt jealousy as a fracture in my soul, sharp, bleeding, and real. They touched your life. Jealousy touched every scar I hid deep inside. Jealousy is the language of a heart that still dares to love, even broken. I envied their presence because they held pieces of you I lost forever. When I saw them, jealousy became the wound I couldn't stop nursing. Love's death is jealousy's birth, a cycle of pain wrapped in hope's disguise. I envied their warmth, the flame that burned away the cold I couldn't fight. Jealousy is love's secret sorrow, spoken in silence, felt in every breath. I felt jealousy like a silent scream echoing in the chambers of my heart. They smiled, and jealousy cracked the mask I wore to hide my shattered love. Jealousy is the heart's shadow, dark, relentless, and impossible to forget. I envied their love because mine was a song you stopped singing long ago. I felt jealousy like a storm inside, a tempest of love I couldn't control. They replaced my name with whispers. Jealousy became my silent, aching prayer. Jealousy is the shadow that lingers when love quietly turns away. I envied their every word because mine were swallowed by your silence. When I saw them, jealousy broke my heart in a language only I understood. Jealousy isn't poison, it's love bleeding through cracks of forgotten promises. I envied their light because mine flickered out in the dark of your absence. They held your hand, and jealousy gripped my soul like a fading dream. Jealousy is love's final song, haunting and beautiful in its despair. I felt jealousy as a ghost, present, unseen, yet impossible to forget. Their smile stole your attention. Jealousy stole the last pieces of my hope. I envied their laughter because mine was swallowed by the weight of goodbye. Jealousy is the quiet ache that love leaves behind when it walks away. When I saw them near you, jealousy whispered the truth my heart feared. I envied their touch, knowing mine was lost in the shadows of your past. Jealousy is love's broken echo, repeating what it can never reclaim. They took your gaze. Jealousy took the breath from my fragile heart. I felt jealousy as a wound, deep, bleeding memories I tried to forget. Jealousy is the heavy silence that follows the sound of love's end. I envied their presence because I lost the space where our souls once met. They smiled for you. Jealousy screamed inside, unheard but fiercely alive. Jealousy is love's silent scream, a storm raging beneath calm eyes. I envied their voice because mine was lost in the echoes of our past. When I saw them, jealousy became a quiet fire, consuming what was left. Jealousy is love's last breath, desperate and fragile in the face of loss. They held your heart. Jealousy held the pieces of mine that never healed. I envied their shadow, the place where my name slowly faded away. Jealousy is the wound love leaves when it's broken beyond repair. I felt jealousy not as anger, but as a love too deep to let go. They smiled at you, and jealousy turned into the silence I couldn't break. Jealousy is love's cruel mirror, reflecting what it fears to lose. I envied their touch because mine was just a memory fading into night. My dear, jealousy burns not for them, but for what I thought was ours, now fading into silence. Their smile was a thief. I caught jealousy stealing pieces of my own broken heart. When I saw you with them, I realized love wasn't just lost, it was quietly murdered. Jealousy whispered, "You're not enough," and my soul screamed back, "Then watch me rise." I didn't envy their touch. I envied the ghost of myself who once held you. Seeing you near them, I grieved the invisible wounds jealousy carved into my soul. Jealousy's fire burns cold when it's fueled by a love that's already dead inside. Their eyes held your light, the light I thought only I could ever see. Jealousy is love's last desperate scream before silence swallows everything whole. I envied their presence because I lost the one place I called home, your heart. The ache wasn't jealousy, it was the hollow where your promises used to live. Jealousy tastes bitter when swallowed by regret, but still I choke on every memory. I watch them, and suddenly the past became a cruel mirror of what never was. Their laugh was poison, seeping into my veins, coloring every memory I had of us. Jealousy is not hate, it's love, confused, wounded, and mourning its own demise. When I saw them, I realized jealousy was just love's shadow trying to survive. The silence between us screamed louder than any jealousy I've ever felt. I envied their words, their touch, because mine turned to ash before they arrived. Jealousy is the heart's cruel way of reminding us what we lost but never owned. Watching you with them, I felt like a ghost no longer haunting your dreams. I wanted to scream, but jealousy taught me the power of silent devastation. They took your time. I lost my soul somewhere between wanting and letting go. Jealousy doesn't ask for permission. It breaks in, uninvited, and stays too long. I envied their silence with you, the quiet I once thought was only ours. The cruelest jealousy is watching love slip away dressed in someone else's smile. Jealousy is the secret language of a heart that's still too broken to heal. Their shadow stretched over us, and jealous has burned the edges of my fading hope. I felt jealous as a wound that refused to heal, bleeding memories into my nights. Love became jealousy's cruel stage, where I watched the one I adored applaud someone else. They weren't just stealing you, they were stealing the version of me you loved. Jealous is love's desperate prayer when faith has been shattered beyond repair. I envied their breath on your skin, a betrayal no words could fix. The jealous I felt wasn't anger, it was a silent plea to be seen once more. I saw them, and jealous drowned out every reason I had to stay calm. Love died in the moment I realized jealousy was all that remained. They held your attention, and jealous held the pieces of my broken heart. Jealousy is love's final confession when silence becomes too loud to bear. I envied the space between you two, the distance where I no longer belonged. Jealousy is a thief wearing the mask of love's deepest regret. I felt jealousy because I still believed you could have loved only me. Watching you with them, I felt my heart become a stranger to itself. Jealousy carved its name into the wall of my soul, where love once lived. They whispered your name, and jealousy screamed mine into the void. I envied every glance they stole from you, the fragments I could never reclaim. Jealousy is love's echo, repeating what it fears it can never hear again. I felt jealousy not for them, but for the us that never was. The moment I saw you with them, love folded and jealousy unfolded its wings. Jealousy is a wound we hide, bleeding quietly beneath our strongest smiles. I envied the way they made you laugh, knowing I lost that right forever. Love turned to jealousy when your heart found a new rhythm without me. I felt jealousy like a silent storm raging inside my hollowed chest. They touched you, and jealousy touched the broken parts of me left behind. Jealousy isn't weakness, it's love's desperate attempt to survive its own death. I envied the shadow they cast on you, long and impossible to outrun. I saw them, and jealousy became the language my shattered heart spoke best. Love's wound is jealousy's home. It lingers long after the pain should fade. Jealousy is a prayer written in the margins of a love story ending too soon. I envied the way they fit where I once thought only I belonged. Jealousy screamed when I realized you had rewritten your love without me. I watched them steal pieces of you, and jealousy became my cruelest companion. Jealousy is love's shadow, long, dark, and impossible to outrun completely. I envied their silence, the quiet space between you that I lost forever. When I saw them, jealousy was the last light flickering in a dying love. Jealousy isn't anger, it's a heart broken too many times to hope again.